beaches. Now, the good news, they are not harmful to touch. But with so many of these creatures taking over our coastal waters, scientists here want to know what's going on.
I don't know what they are, but they're creepy.
We think we know the Earth, but it hides many mysteries. Creatures head to toe in fur. Animals that make you look twice. And a few oddballs that turn heads. There's even a few myths that come to life. Today, we are looking into creatures you wouldn't even believe existed. A river in Michigan went abuzz with the sighting of a creature that was seen wading its way across. Almost shoulder deep in the water, the creature was seen automatically as a sign of danger. Most residents were terrified to step out of their homes, afraid this Sasquatch would suddenly appear in front of them and pounce. A few, however, were sure this was just a man in a fursuit. But here's the problem. Even if we assume it's a prankster, the creature was quite tall. About 8 to 9 feet tall, considering it's easily crossing deep water. So that seems highly unlikely. Well, the footage was never debunked, so perhaps it really is a Sasquatch. Forest Fury. Who says monstrous creatures are a myth? Maybe they're just being held captive, hidden from the rest of the world. Like this abomination. Some ungodly mix between a bear, a pig, and a creature that we might not even know exists. Honestly, it's pretty unnerving how these people are just petting this monstrous creature with ease. Maybe it's because it's tied up, or maybe they're involved in whatever experiment led to the creation of this creature. And yes, that's a theory that's been going around, that this was an awful experiment by some evil scientists. I just hope the thing never breeds. The Manti tribe. The Manti people were among the earliest tribes to settle in Aceh, Indonesia. This ethnic group was part of local folklore and is believed to have gone extinct several decades ago. But now, we're seeing this. 2 people alleged to be from the Manti tribe. What makes their appearance even more special is the way they carry themselves. If they really are from the Manti tribe, it means they're the last men standing, and are the only ones who could revive the tribe. It also means they've spent the last few decades hiding in the trees, hoping no passers-by would recognize or see them, which explains why many people thought they went extinct. Siren Ashore. For centuries, we've heard tales about mermaids and mermen, but we've never really taken them seriously, always chalking them up to just myths and folklore. Well, this just washed ashore somewhere in the Philippines. And now, more and more locals are terrified that this creature is a descendant of the mermaid. It's also possible this is how mermaids look, but years of stories have transformed them into something more beautiful. Either way, locals tried to identify the creature, but even animal experts were clueless. A few even claimed it's a skinwalker's body. But ultimately, it's still just a big mystery. Yip and Zoom. I imagine if you live close enough to Area 51, you might meet some creature that's not from Earth. After all, we do know what the government's up to over there, hiding aliens in its backyard. But what do you do when one of them escapes into your neighborhood? Now that's a frightening scenario. But luckily, we can count on those rowdy coyotes to ward them off. When this alien was seen streaking the neighborhood, many claimed the video was fake. The person who uploaded this swears he didn't doctor anything. Plus, the coyote's behavior tells you it's all true. If the alien was edited in, it makes no sense why the coyote looks like it really is chasing down something. Mossy Wanderer. Deep in the heart of the Amazon jungle, something rose from the treacherous river. Covered head to toe in hair, the creature sparked rumors about a monstrous myth. Maybe an evil creature rising from the depths, ready to take over the world. Of course, that sounds ominous and suspicious enough. So after a little digging, here's the deal. It's just a sloth. Of course, seeing it right at the bank is when you know it's a sloth for sure.
You can see the eyes.
Experiment 19. Driving through a remote area in the US, these two friends noticed something lying in a ditch along the road. Curiosity won, and they got off, thinking maybe it was a raw chicken or something like that. But what they found was a mysterious creature that resembles a pig, but has cat-like teeth and an abrasive tongue.
It looks like it just died.
While a few netizens were quick to hop on the "it's all fake" bandwagon, the duo swore up and down that this really was some sort of creature. The darker part of the sighting is the stamp on it. Maybe it was the result of a failed experiment, suggesting there might be a creature like this that survived and is hiding somewhere. Sasquatch shenanigans. In the 1960s, two men, namely Roger Patterson and his friend Robert Gimlin, came forward with a video claiming they'd filmed the elusive Bigfoot. According to the duo, they were filming along Bluff Creek, 25 miles from Orleans, California, when they noticed a humanoid creature crossing a forested area. Knowing nobody else would believe them if they didn't film it, they immediately got the cameras rolling and captured the mysterious creature disappearing into the bushes. Patterson and Gimlin swore the video wasn't doctored in any way, and weirdly enough, when experts did take a look, it seemed they were telling the truth. The video was stabilized years later, and you can clearly see it's some sort of a Sasquatch. Demonic cryptid. Surrounded by creepy woods, nothing visible except two bright glints that blinked from the dark. That's a nightmare scenario for anyone, especially the hiker who even managed to capture a growling creature staring back at him from the trees. Knowing it could very well be a predatory animal, the hiker kept his distance, but refused to turn his back, knowing the slightest movement could end his life. But this was no animal. If we review closely, this creature is unlike any we've seen before. Many are saying this is the chupacabra, seen up close, finally proving its existence. That's what the hiker believes too. Tiny terror.
Saçları dökülmüş. Kaç yaşında tahmin olarak? 8'i rahat ver. Mükemmel şey kafasına.
A Turkish farmer found this little creature seeking shelter in his barn after a rough day. Luckily, the kind-hearted farmer did take it in, even though he had no idea what it was. If we look at it, you can tell this could definitely be some type of animal. But what kind? That's a mystery. The thing is, many netizens believe this is a marmoset, but marmosets don't usually look like that. And they're also not found in Turkey, since they're native to South America. When the farmer uploaded the video, he hoped to find out what animal it was, but was soon told that he might be holding onto a species that isn't identified, and still isn't. Madagascar's jewels. Whoa! If panic was an animal, it'd be this one. Straight off the bat, you know this creature's experiencing at least some form of anxiety. But it's also blessed to look like this. This is the Indri, an incredibly rare and critically endangered lemur that's usually only found in Madagascar. Which brings us to this. That's right, the Indri is a relative of King Julian from the Madagascar movies. Or might just be King Julian himself. That would explain all those crazy facial expressions. Jurassic Reignited. We all know the story of how all dinosaurs were wiped out millions of years ago, right? So how on earth is this one still living? And that too in the arms of a man. This dinosaur almost looks like it's a household pet. The video was leaked anonymously by someone working on a covert experiment. He claims they utilized ancient dinosaur fossils to replicate the monstrous creature in the future. According to the anonymous whistleblower, this is happening somewhere in Japan, and that the country is successfully breeding these creatures, hoping to unleash them to dominate the world. Well, I just hope I'm not there to witness this when it happens. Cyclogoat. On a random Wednesday back in May of 2017, several villagers gathered around one of their neighbors to see a miraculous birth. A goat with just one eye. An eye was not the only thing this goat was missing. It also had just one ear. Talk about keeping an eye out and an ear back. Well, here's why this bugger's a miracle. Vets inspected it and said it wouldn't last more than a few hours, so the farmer eagerly stayed by the goat's side, hoping to assist its passing. But the next day came, and the goat was still alive, and it survived a couple of more days. The farmer moved soon after, so we don't know what happened since. But hopefully, that goat's still out there playing somewhere. Supersized croak. You're not ready for this. Yep, that's a frog. A giant one at that. It's insane to think that this giant frog isn't roaming somewhere in the Amazon jungles or thick marshes, but sitting on the desk of this man. I didn't even know it was physically possible for frogs to grow this big. And I can't believe this guy was able to keep it as a house pet. The frog should have definitely gone to, like, a testing facility, right? Well, that's because the biggest known frog in the world, the Goliath frog, grows up to 12.5 inches. And that doesn't even come close to this guy. Well, many who've seen it believe it's just CGI. But I don't know, that looks way too realistic, right? Monkey see, monkey do. A Chinese zoo stunned visitors with a black-capped capuchin that had a humanoid face. Well, look at it! It's not like they're exaggerating. The capuchin really looks like it just got off a 9-to-5 and is just exhausted. Or like an old man who's tired of all the kids crossing his yard. A few visitors even joked that this monkey was tired of living with humans, while some others were far more superstitious. They believe the monkey might have actually been a human being in a past life, and either it really messed up, or crossed the wrong person. Well, either way, it's pretty freaky to look at it. Gymnasium gremlin. During a high school tryout trial for swimming, one parent hoping to film their child win a spot accidentally captured a small creature sitting on a wall across the gymnasium. Initially, she thought it was just a cat that snuck in, since it was sitting so far she couldn't really see clearly. But then she zoomed in and realized the creature looked like a small humanoid sitting with its legs crossed. It had a bat-like appearance and even seemed to smile demonically. But that's not even the worst part. If this really is real, it's possible that it's some sort of devil creature stalking a potential victim. Let's just hope it never got the chance to strike. Chernobylus. Alright, what is this freaky creature? Some abomination that escaped the testing lab? A deformed miracle of nature? Or an alien sent down to Earth? Well, believe it or not, many people are rooting for the third option, the alien creature. The reason? Although it looks like a mollusk of some sort, no marine scientist has been able to identify this creature. Many are seriously thinking that this cryptid may have dropped on Earth a few years ago and is only now making a big appearance. Honestly, not that far-fetched, especially since we know aliens are beginning to show themselves. Scaled stalker. In a secluded nature reserve in Brazil, a camera set up to monitor the animals caught a strange creature crawling across the enclosure. Initially, the nature reserve workers assumed this might have been a monitor lizard, perhaps a deformed one, but that really doesn't explain its weird limbs and even weirder way of walking. No matter what the creature they thought this was, it didn't really make any sense. But that's not even the craziest part. When the workers inspected the enclosure immediately after seeing this video, they didn't find anything. Not a single speck of dirt that even remotely looked like this creature. They're sure this creature popped up from another world and vanished before it could be caught. Tangled Tarzan. If you saw this in the pitch dark, you'd think the vines were coming alive and scaling the walls to escape. Or that it's some sort of creature that's escaped from the Looney Tunes universe. It really does look like Gossamer, doesn't it? But this is actually an orangutan, one that probably hasn't bathed in decades. An orangutan with overgrown hair is pretty unusual, because even those in the wild can't manage a mane like this. This orangutan lives in the Kentucky Zoo, which means it could have been groomed any time. But I guess the zoo really didn't want to mess with Mother Nature. Plus, it's not like the orangutan has to fight predators, so I'd say it's rocking those dreadlocks pretty well. Canopy Chaos. Forget raining cats and dogs, it's raining monkeys here. As a couple of tourists headed up to a lake in Florida, they found themselves against a troop of hooting and hollering monkeys, all jumping down from the tree into the water below. A few of them were so excited and eager to get their turn, they even pushed and shoved to make way. But while we think this is a pretty amusing sight, it can take a turn for the worse. Monkeys, especially wild ones, can be pretty unpredictable. One wrong move, and you're up against an army. That also explains why the lake is predominantly empty. No sane tourist or local would go near a raging troop of monkeys. Forest Phantom.
Awas kali, cepat awas kali.
Well, it looks like the aliens really love playing tricks on us, because now they've unleashed whatever this creature is, and it's already moving about like it owns the place. As the cameraman traced the creature's movement, he was horrifying to see how unusually it moved, jumping and gliding from one point to another, as if it was ready to teleport someplace. But here's a look at its face. Now, right off the bat, you know this is some earthly creature. But what type? I believe this is a colugo, or the Sunda flying lemur, a gliding mammal that's native to Southeast Asia, which kind of explains why many people thought it was some sort of an alien. Danger noodle. When this kind of creature starts showing up in our lakes, you know there's something far scarier bubbling under those waves. Of course, its appearance caused quite the ripple, and not just in the water. Many people who found this carcass washed ashore weren't freaked out by what it was, but more by what could have caused such a thing to end up passing away. I mean, it really looks like it didn't go away on its own terms. Once the video and pictures went viral, many said that it was a European eel. A few even think it's some alien creature, or perhaps an unidentified species that looks like this because it passed away. Vietnam monster. A horde of people, all gathered round to see the vicious creature that rode in with the waves in the early hours of the morning. The sea monster had a streamlined body, but its mouth was so swollen, most residents couldn't identify what it was. Thus began the rumors of a monstrous creature lurking in Vietnam's rivers. Many feared this creature would come alive or emerge from the depths again. Of course, this only spread fear. But luckily, there were a few residents who didn't take these myths seriously. They contacted authorities, who quickly rushed to the shore. In doing so, they realized the creature was probably some sort of bloated whale that had beached itself and passed away. A long shot. You probably don't think this little goat is worth paying much attention to, except for its adorable looks, of course. But you might want to lend an ear, or borrow one, because this goat's clearly got more than it can handle. Meet Simba, a Pakistani Nubian goat that's all ears and breaking records, one long ear at a time. In 2022, Simba was the contender for the Guinness World Record for the longest ears in the world. Simba's ears measured 48 centimeters. But that was just the start. Simba's owner later claimed Simba grew up to have ears up to 82 centimeters. Well, what a champ! Mavnana. In Chinese folklore, there's a creature called the Mavnana, believed to be some sort of spirit that resembles a human, but can also take the shape of an owl. The Mavnana, or Owl Man, often appears at the lakes in Asia, suddenly emerging from the water, giving tourists and locals a fright. Now, many believe this creature is the Mavnana, especially since the Mavnana has the ability to look exactly like a real owl, and no amount of testing would prove that it's not. While a few animal experts are skeptical of this, you have to admit that owl is too close to a human for comfort. The Vacanti.
Researchers have found a way to grow an adult-sized ear on a rat.
The world's getting crazier and crazier. I mean, we've got animals looking like us. But now, we've got a mouse that's literally growing a human ear. It sounds painfully impossible, but all those crazy scientists have finally done it. Yep, it's our own doing, and we must suffer through it, just like the poor mouse. You're probably wondering why or how this happened. And to save you a trip back to science class, mice are surprisingly genetically similar to humans. It sounds crazy, but when a person loses an important body part, like an ear, it can be implanted within a mouse to help it regrow and stay safe until it's stable enough to be sewn back on. Yeah, that's not strange at all. Misplaced mutt. This is what happens when you take a skinwalker training class, but aren't a regular. Now, this creature looks unimaginably insane. It's clearly a dog, but not like the poodles or retrievers that we're used to seeing. This one looks like a cross between a dog and a cow. It was spotted by a woman driving through a remote pasture, and she's sure this is actually a skinwalker caught mid-transition, or one that really messed up its transformation routine. Either way, it's a mind-boggling sight. But here's the creepy deal. The woman also thinks it might be the result of a bad experiment by an evil scientist among us who's seriously crossing boundaries. The Takin. This looks like an interesting result of an encounter between a bison and a goat. Recorded at Edmonton Zoo in Canada, this creature is one of its only kind. And no, it isn't some grotesque experimental creature. It's actually a takin, a large relative of goats. We think it looks weird because it's not really found anywhere except in the Himalayas. That explains why this poor fellow was banging on the counter. It's probably thinking even the Canadian cold isn't enough to keep it snug. It probably needs a breath of fresh air back home in the Himalayas. We've no idea how the takin got here, except that some sneaky tourist might have snuck a baby in. Baffled identity. We've all thought the idea of being reincarnated into an animal was just a myth. But when you take a look at this goat, it doesn't seem that far off from reality, does it? This goat was born in an Indian village, and although vets said it would only survive a few minutes, that goat survived a couple of weeks. This miracle, combined with its human-y shape, convinced locals it might have been some sort of deity reincarnated. Of course, vets are sure this is just a deformed goat. Its snout is pushed back into its mouth, giving it a human-like appearance. But who says it can't be both a deformed goat and a reincarnated soul? Avian Arnold. I don't know whether this crow is hanging out at the gym 24/7 or just taking a special protein diet, because it's got a better body than most of us. Now, that's certainly quite a way to flex, just rubbing its superior form in our faces, knowing we'll struggle bad just to get there. And wait till it turns its head. Yup, now it doesn't even look like a crow, but a gorilla. Imagine being so jacked you transform into another species. This gorilla crow turned quite a few heads when it was seen outside a convenience store in Japan. And with a body like that, I don't blame him. Unibull. I never really understood why it's so absurd to believe unicorns exist, especially since we have regular animals like a bull sprouting a gigantic horn in the middle of its head. That's certainly unusual. While cows and bulls can grow horns, and most do, to have one sprout from there is kind of like us growing an ear from our forehead. Quite the imagination, isn't it? This probably happened due to some genetic malformation or an abnormality. This bull doesn't look like it's growing a horn from its side, which might explain why the farmer didn't shave it down. The bull's gonna need that as its personal sword. El Chupacabra. We think the mysterious chupacabra is only found in Puerto Rico and surrounding areas, but it might be closer to home than you think. In 2014, a woman in Texas claimed she'd found the chupacabra, and even had proof to back up her claims. She and her family caught some sort of grotesque creature lurking in their backyard. And before you jump to conclusions saying it's a dog, she did ask biologists to take a look, and even they were stumped. The mangy creature looked nothing like animals we're used to, and weirdly enough, it was even eating from its hand like a raccoon. Now that's unusual, even for a chupacabra. So, what do you think? Unusual mutant. Mother Nature really does keep surprising us with adorable oddballs now, doesn't she? 8 years ago, this baby goat graced the earth. Only it came out looking a certain way. As it is in the animal kingdom, the poor goat's mother instantly turned to her other babies, leaving this one in the lurch. A kind farmer stepped in, took the goat to the vets, and found it was a living miracle. Most goats born with such abnormalities fail to survive because they can't feed properly, and because they're often left behind. But this little resilient fighter is winning every battle. Unfortunately, we've lost track of the farmer over time, but how loving he was proves the goat had a great life. Shell with a scope?
Look at the way he's moving his whole body.
Alright, I know we're supposed to love all animals, but something about this cross between a snake and a turtle is making me painfully uncomfortable. It's also not fair to give a turtle that long of a neck. I imagine getting back inside the shell might be a little bit uncomfortable. But seriously, is this the product of like a horrible crossbreeding idea? Well, thankfully no. This is the eastern long-necked turtle.
This is a Papua New Guinea snake-necked turtle. Can you guess why he's got a snake neck? Look at that.
Also sometimes called the snake-necked turtle, for reasons I don't think we have to voice. This species is native to Australia. And of course, it really puts the whole thing into perspective.
Literally, look at that. That is so crazy.
Quadruple crown. When you grow more horns than you can handle, you really are the goat. A goat shearer found himself against an opponent. with 4 horns instead of the usual 2. It's unusual enough for a goat to grow an extra horn, but 2 of them? That's like asking for trouble and making it double. The overgrown state of these horns tells us the goat wasn't really kept on a farm. Most farmers would have graded them off by now. Or maybe this one really did grow up on a farm, but its owner decided to let nature take its course and just see where it goes. Well, at least he's a few pounds lighter now. White-eyed watcher. The tough, dark hide of an alligator helps its camouflage, so it can go undetected and pounce on its prey when it's least expecting. So, you can imagine how dangerous it would be for an alligator that's all white to be in the wild. It'd be too easy to spot, scaring away its prey, and would probably become a joke among its fellow predators. Which is probably why this albino alligator is being kept in a safe enclosure. Albino alligators are so rare, there's thought to only be 100 to 200 in the world, and most of them have already passed away. Well, at least it's living a good life for now. Dino on wheels.
Oh, fuck! This is a dinosaur. As you can tell, he's got the little leg.
Guys, I think we were wrong when we said dinosaurs aren't real. Because I see one, and despite its size, it's still freaking me out. This was recorded by a mechanic who was taking a look at his car. He couldn't for the life of him figure out what it was. Eventually, he uploaded the video, hoping the internet would help him out.
Long head, we're gonna see what he is.
But the more people looked, the more convinced they were that the creature wasn't from this planet, or had gone extinct millennia ago. Well, I did a little bit of digging, and I found out this is actually a curved-toothed geometer moth. Yeah, those exist.
Oh, dog, his mouth's open. Bro, what is this? Look at that.
Poke its neck.
Neck. Oh, fuck!
The White Walker. If you saw a creature like this running towards you, I think you'd mainly be freaked out. Not because it's adorable, because this goat-type creature seems to have no eyes. Or a mouth. Now that's certainly a peculiar condition. Many are wondering if this is some sort of divine goat sent from heaven. Maybe it's here to lure us back to the good side. Well, there's another theory too, that this is a crazy cross between a goat and a duck. Yeah, I know, that's practically impossible. But hey, if we've learned anything about mad scientists, we know they're breaking barriers for sure. Well, it's got me stumped. What do you guys think these adorable creatures are? Forked Fury. It's not easy surviving life with 2 heads, especially if you're a cobra. Seen slithering across a road in the US, this 2-headed cobra is pretty rare, mainly because of its 2 brains, which are functioning separately, but also because 2-headed creatures like these rarely survive in the wild. Firstly, they're up against predators who know they're struggling to move together, so these 2-headed critters are an easy target. Secondly, they're also their own enemy. The 2 heads will fight for the bite, even if it goes in the same stomach. Sometimes, their interactions can actually be life-ending. Cooing Colossus. Well, if confidence were a pigeon, it'd be this one. This one's walking with a mighty puff, clearly holding in a lot of air. All jokes aside, this handsome-looking pigeon is a pouter, and they didn't get their appearance on their own. They were bred specifically to look like this. Initially, it was only to make them a cherished house pet, but they've evolved and now look like this. Well, at least the puffy chest means it'll be noticed from miles away. The Muntjac. Oh god, this looks like a deer that was possessed by an alien of some sort. How on earth is it even doing that? Ugh, the more I look, the queasier I feel. And this person's feeding the creature like it's not pulling out its own eyes. Alright, time to calm down. This is the Muntjac. It's also called a rib-faced deer, for reasons I don't think we need to get into. This isn't the Muntjac's eyes, but sweat glands lying just up there. By belching them forward, the Muntjac marks its territory. This usually works when it's doing, well, some business in the bushes. So, I don't know why it's doing them during feeding. Sand Sifter. Who says aliens need to be from outer space? They might just be crawling on the ground next to you. Like this one that got picked up by a very curious, dare I say, very foolishly brave too. Well, it's a good thing because this isn't some freak of nature. It's a Mexican mole lizard, looking like this because it's one of the only two-legged lizard species in the world. Oh, and it's also bright pink, so it's easily visible from afar. Open discussion. In Thailand, as a group of tourists rocked a boat ride, they noticed a bunch of hairy creatures standing near the cave's entrance. Spooked, they came closer, thinking that maybe they were orangutans. But they were nowhere near orangutan territory, and the creatures were behaving unusually weird. Some of them were stoic, as if frozen in their place, but when the tourists inched nearer, they moved. Naturally, most of the tourists were spooked, but a few brave ones ventured closer to get a good look. Some of them even cornered the creatures.